Hey guys, so today we're going to take a look at my new Samsung 4K television. So I just got this thing set up a couple days ago, and you can see I have the Xbox 360 hooked up right now. Well, the Xbox 360 obviously does not do 4K, neither does the Xbox One, which I've also got hooked up. So if you go in here to menu and you navigate through the really complicated things, I remember on my TV at home, that's just a 1080p plasma, there's just a button that says info, right, on the remote. This you have to go all the way up here to do it, but if you do this, you see it says 1080p, or rather 1920 by 1080 60p. I'll go back to it. There's a little HD logo that shows up. There we go. See this little HD logo here? So this is just showing you that it's a 1080p source. So it doesn't look too bad upscaled, but I thought to myself, you know, what about actual upscaling? What about not upscaling and actual 4K content? So I have this laptop, okay? Of course, it looks tiny in comparison to this big TV, but it's a Dell Precision. It has a AMD Fire Pro, which is not a gaming card. It's meant more for like CAD and other business use, but it's pretty powerful either way. So I thought I'd try it out and see what happens. So you can see my desktop wallpaper, which has a size of 1920 by 1080. So let's go back to the TV here, and we'll switch our source to this. And an initial look, once it takes, look at how small my wallpaper is on the screen, right? That is the actual resolution here. So let me move this over. I have a flash drive with some videos I put on just to demonstrate here. But back on my main screen, we'll see here, you can see the size comparison. The mobile PC display is in this screen right here, has 1920 by 1080 because it's a 1080p screen. But if we switch over to Samsung, we got our 3840 by 2160. And I have it set to extend, because if I do clone, then it's going to be limited to 1080. Now, due to a limitation of the video card, it's only outputting 30 frames per second in 4K, as opposed to 60 frames per second normally on 1080. Now, according to my research, this TV does have HDMI 2.0. It's just that the video card is not powerful enough to support it. So if we hit identify here, you see the giant number 2 that just showed up on my screen. So most of these videos are just like public domain stuff. So we'll start with a trailer from it's one of my favorite trailers. The movie itself isn't my favorite, but it's the trailer from Watchmen. This is a 1080p trailer, and again, you can see how small it is on this screen. So here's what I find interesting though. If you enlarge it like this, it actually looks really bad. The picture quality just looks really blocky. You probably aren't able to see it from this because I'm only recording this at 1080p and I'm using a camera to film a television, which is generally not a good idea. But if you were to actually look at it, in comparison to, let me go ahead and just turn the volume down a little bit, but in comparison to plugging in 1080p content, like the Xbox 360 looks a whole lot better, and I have a feeling that if I were to plug in my laptop and leave the resolution set to 1080 and let the TV do its upscaling rather than using Media Player Classic to upscale it, it would actually look a little bit better. I'm not quite sure why, but I believe it has to do with the fact that this TV has its own quad-core processor that just does upscaling, whereas this is really working my graphics card to the bone here. You can tell it, well, actually you probably can't tell from this, but when I was doing some testing before I started filming, it was sort of lagging a little bit. I'd try to move the mouse around and it would be really laggy. So it really is pushing the graphics card to its limits here because, again, it's not a gaming card. It's meant to be a workstation for businesses. It was just the only option I could get on the Dell laptops at the time that wasn't an onboard integrated card. So now let's go over to Inception, another trailer that a lot of people love. Again, look at how tiny this is. And In fact, if I do 200%, there we go. So it's slightly, it looks like it's slightly, well, it's not double. It's maybe like 1.5 times the size or something like that. This one looks pretty good. I think this one's a fairly high bit rate. It's like a, couple 100 megabyte trailer there. So let's go back and put the zoom back on 100% here. I can barely read the text. It's so tiny on the screen. All right. And then one more 1080p video to show you, and this is a nice short one here, but I feel it's appropriate. This is the IMAX movie introduction here. This is a proper 16:9 as opposed to a super wide video. So this is the introduction that they'd have at an IMAX theater. Again, you can just, you can tell, like, look, I mean, I don't know if you could see it from the camera, but this looks really awful right now being upscaled. I mean, it's like really, really blocky. That being said, it might have to do with the fact that I downloaded it from YouTube, and YouTube is sort of famous for bitrate starvation, which in layman's terms, for those of you who don't know all the tech terms I'm talking about, it just means that the quality of it isn't that good, like, compared to something like a Blu-ray, which is the reverse end of the spectrum, where it's, such high quality, it's almost unnecessary sometimes. YouTube, I mean, yeah, they do have 1080p videos, but oftentimes the quality is so low that it, like, barely looks good at all. Now, this is just, I thought this was humorous to demonstrate. This is a music video for Green Day's Boulevard of Broken Dreams, but I'm going to show this one because this is standard DVD quality, 480p. Look at how ridiculously tiny this video is compared to the screen. And let me note, this is the actual size of the video. I'm not enlarging this at all. So, on a TV like this, the picture, the 480p image is like, I don't know, 1/8 of the screen, if that, probably even smaller. I mean, it's ridiculously tiny looking. And that's the actual size of a DVD. Or, any sort of standard definition content. I mean, yeah, I can enlarge it like this, but, I mean, this is blowing the picture up literally, I don't know, 800% or something. Like, let's shrink it back down. If I go to zoom, go to 200%, there we go. So this is double the size, and it still looks really tiny, right? So, yeah, I mean, I just thought that was sort of humorous there, how tiny a 480p video looks. So, yeah, I'm not trying to discourage anybody from being an early adopter in 4K. I mean, I certainly thought it would be a good idea. But since there are no 4K Blu-rays yet, as the time of filming this video, July 2015, there's really not much I can do in terms of actually utilizing the super insane resolution of the screen. You might say, well, you could use it for gaming, but see, that's the problem. I mean, even though the TV itself has the proper inputs, the graphics card in my computers don't. It can't keep up. And apparently only the very, very, very high-end videos at the moment will output 60 frames per second 4K. Pretty much any AMD card on the market won't. So it doesn't even matter whether it's a high-end or low-end. I mean, it's just not going to happen. Hopefully, the next series of cards they put out will have that, or maybe they'll have a driver update for their existing cards, but, I mean, as of right now, I mean, it's kind of not useful for that. You might say, well, I mean, why not just stick to 30 frames per second? Well, I have nothing against that, certainly. 30 frames per second is still better than nothing, but, I guess what I'm getting at is that there really isn't much I can do right now to watch things in 4K. I mean, Netflix has, like, 2 movies, right? There's a couple other, I mean, Amazon has their service, and what other ones? Sony has their service, but there really isn't that much out there right now in 4K. So, this is more, I mean, I'm hoping that in like a year or two, this will become a lot more relevant and I'll be able to watch a lot more content in native quality. But you can see from my little smoke test here with the laptop just how small high-definition videos look. And just, you know, just a year or two ago, those were considered great quality. I mean, 1080p high definition was pretty much the top of the line. And now it's like nothing compared to these screens. So, yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and if anyone wants to see anything else on the screen, you know, like a certain movie or something, or you want to just know, hey, what does this look like, or whatever, you go ahead and leave a comment, and just certainly feel free to ask. I've got Netflix, I can pull up movies if they add more in 4K and you just want to know if it looks any good or something like that. I would show you guys, but I don't really feel like showing clips of copyrighted movies because I don't need to get this taken down. And I mean, that being said, anybody who has Netflix can just do this themselves. And you could probably go to a store like Best Buy where I bought this TV and just say, hey, any chance you have a Netflix set up on this TV I could just take a look at. They probably wouldn't mind letting you test it out. I mean, you know, some stores might not, but depending on where you go, I mean, if they've got, especially considering a lot of their TVs are hooked up to the internet already, they might not mind logging in, or even they might already have like a 4K video, like on a USB drive or something like that they could show you to look at. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to show you guys, and hopefully I'll have more of a use for the 4K as time goes on, and for now I'm going to just continue watching all my upscaled Blu-rays and enjoying the fact that it doesn't actually look too terrible considering that it's upscaling, and it still looks like pretty good. Yeah.